Good evening, and welcome to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm Nicodemus, and I will be your host as we take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. And remember, none of this is financial advice. And it's 10 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, September 2nd, 2023. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we have no sponsors, no hidden agendas, and no BS. But we do have the news, so let's talk about that. Tonight we delve into Ethereum's self-imposed staking limits aimed at preserving decentralization. We also unpack the SEC's legal quagmire as judges question their regulatory tactics. Next, we explore the expanding BRICS alliance as they challenge Western financial control. We then turn our attention to India's Yes Bank, taking a significant step in CBDC integration. Finally, we look at Genesis Global Capital, embroiled in a ballot scandal that raises questions about the integrity of crypto financial systems. 5 major Ethereum staking providers agreed to a self-imposed limit of owning no more than 22% of the Ethereum staking market. The providers are Rocket Pool, Stakewise, Stater Labs, Diva Staking, and Puffer Finance. This move aims to preserve the decentralization of the Ethereum network. Ethereum core developer Superfizz proposed this idea in May of 2022. The 22% figure is significant because Ethereum requires a consensus of 66% of validators for network finality. This ensures that at least 4 major entities must agree for the chain to finalize. Lido Finance, a dominant player with 32.4% of all staked Ethereum, has rejected this self-limitation. Coinbase and Binance hold 8.7% and 4.52% of the staking market, respectively. The self-imposed 22% limit is a bold move in the crypto world, a space often driven by financial gains. It's a testament to the Ethereum community's commitment to decentralization. Superfizz and the participating staking providers are setting a precedent, prioritizing network health over individual profit. This is a significant step, especially when we consider the looming threat of centralization from entities like Lido Finance. However, it's worth noting that Lido's refusal to join the pact raises questions about the effectiveness of this self-imposed limit. With 32.4% of staked Ether, Lido could single-handedly tip the scales towards centralization. Their refusal to self-limit is a glaring red flag for anyone concerned about decentralizing Ethereum. It's almost as if they were saying, "We don't need to play by the community's rules, we'll make our own." The community's mixed reactions also reveal an underlying skepticism. Critics argue that providers like Rocket Pool and Stakewise are only committing to the 22% limit because they're nowhere near that market share. It's easy to appear virtuous when you're not the one wielding power. The situation brings us to a crucial point. Verbal commitments are not legally binding. What's stopping these providers from reneging on their promise if they ever reach Lido's level of market dominance? The Ethereum community needs more than just words. It needs enforceable mechanisms to ensure that 22% limit is adhered to. While the self-limit is a step in the right direction, it's not a foolproof solution. It's a band-aid on a wound that requires stitches. The Ethereum community must remain vigilant and perhaps consider protocol-level sanctions against entities that threaten the decentralized ethos. So Ethereum's staking providers are setting their own rules. But what happens when the SEC doesn't play by anyone's rules? Federal judges are asking just that. Buckle up, because we're steering through legal mazes next. And this one is our cover story for tonight. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is seeking to appeal a federal judge's ruling that Ripple sales of XRP did not violate securities law. Ripple has opposed this motion, stating that the SEC hasn't made a strong enough case for an appeal. Judge Annalisa Torres had previously found that while Ripple did violate federal securities laws by selling XRP to institutional investors, it did not do the same for retail investors. Ripple argues that an appeal would not lead to a faster resolution of the case. The SEC has until September 8th to respond to Ripple's latest filing. In a separate filing, Ripple's lawyers stated that the SEC's grounds for an appeal are based on dissatisfaction with the court's decision. They argued that the SEC has not met the requirements for an interlocutory appeal. The SEC had previously filed a motion asking the court to certify for this appeal, stating that the Ripple case could impact other pending litigation with top crypto trading platforms like Binance and Coinbase. And so when Ripple stressed that the SEC's grounds for an appeal largely rested on the dissatisfaction with the judge's decision on XRP, they called on that judge to deny any request for an appeal or stay. So what's going on with all this? Ripple's pushback against the SEC is a defining moment in the ongoing battle between decentralized cryptocurrencies and centralized regulatory bodies. The SEC's attempt to appeal the court's decision is a clear sign of the agency's struggle to apply outdated securities laws to modern, decentralized financial systems. Ripple's strong opposition to the SEC's appeal request is a bold move, signaling the crypto company's confidence in its legal standing. This could set a precedent for other crypto companies facing similar regulatory scrutiny, essentially telling the SEC, your old rules don't apply here. The SEC's insistence on pushing for an appeal, despite a lack of compelling legal grounds, reveals a desperate attempt to regain control over a rapidly evolving financial landscape. It's not just about Ripple or XRP. It's about the SEC's ability to regulate an industry that's challenging the very foundations of centralized financial systems. The clock is ticking for the SEC. With a deadline to respond to Ripple's latest filing, the agency is under pressure to make its next move. But as Ripple stands its ground, one thing is clear. The crypto community is watching, and they're not easily swayed by the tactics of centralized powers. But Ripple's stand against the SEC is not an isolated incident. As the regulatory body grapples with its own limitations, federal courts are adding another layer of complexity. They're effectively telling the SEC that its current playbook for crypto oversight is outdated. It's not just Ripple challenging the SEC's grasp, the courts are making their own powerful statements. In fact, federal courts have recently signaled that the time for revamped cryptocurrency regulation is now. In cases involving Uniswap and Grayscale, the courts criticized the reasoning of the SEC. One judge even suggested that Congress should take the lead in regulation. Finally, 3 judges from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit ruled that the SEC must re-review Grayscale's bid for a spot Bitcoin ETF. This came after Grayscale sued the SEC for rejecting its plan to convert its flagship GBTC fund into a spot Bitcoin ETF. In a separate case, the U.S. District for the Southern District of New York dismissed a class action lawsuit against Uniswap Labs. This ruling sets a precedent that code developers should not be held responsible for the misuse by others. It also noted that liquidity providers don't necessarily forfeit legal title when contributing to a decentralized exchange pool. Also in that same case, the court said Ethereum was not a security. This directly challenges the position taken by Chair Gensler and his crew at the SEC. The recent court rulings are not just legal victories for Uniswap and Grayscale, they're a slap in the face to the SEC. The courts are essentially telling the SEC to get its act together. And it's not just conservative judges saying this, it's judges appointed by both parties. The bipartisan judicial stance sends a powerful message. The SEC's current approach to crypto regulation is flawed. What's even more interesting is that these judges are not just any judges, they're from the D.C. Circuit Court and the Southern District of New York. Both courts are known for their influence on rulemakings and securities laws. Their rulings carry weight, and the SEC would do well to listen. The Uniswap ruling is particularly noteworthy. By dismissing the class action lawsuit, the court essentially shielded code developers from legal repercussions for how others use their technology. This is a significant step towards acknowledging the decentralized nature of these platforms. That said, it does not appear this logic is going to be applied to Tornado Cash or other crypto mixer apps. Those devs are in serious trouble. The Grayscale ruling also has far-reaching implications. The court's decision to make the SEC re-review Grayscale's ETF bid could set a precedent for other crypto companies seeking similar financial products. It's a signal to the SEC that their one-size-fits-all approach to crypto regulation just won't cut it. In essence, these rulings are a call to action for lawmakers. They're a clear signal that the current regulatory framework is inadequate and that legislative action is needed. And let's be real, if the SEC doesn't adapt, they risk becoming irrelevant in the evolving landscape of crypto regulation. From legal battles to global power shifts, the BRICS Alliance is stepping up its game, adding new players to its roster. Could this be the dawning of a new financial order? Let's take a look. In a recent interview with CNBC, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. attributed the formation of the BRICS Economic Alliance to the weaponization of the U.S. dollar and U.S. foreign policy. Last month, the BRICS Alliance expanded to include Saudi Arabia, Argentina, the UAE, Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia. This move aims to counter the Western-influenced G7. Indonesia has been approached by BRICS diplomats to join the alliance. The Indonesian government is still evaluating the political and economic benefits of membership. Meanwhile, a global macro strategist stated that the Chinese yuan is unlikely to replace the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. The weaponization of the US dollar is cited as a reason why BRICS nations are seeking an alternative. After joining BRICS, Saudi Arabia's oil exports to the US have reached a 6-year low. The country cut oil production by nearly 1 million barrels a day, impacting its trade relations with Western nations. Brazil's president expects the BRICS expansion to have a world-altering effect, including discussions on a common currency for the bloc. The expansion of BRICS is a direct challenge to the hegemony of the US dollar and Western financial institutions. RFK Jr.'s comments are a clear admission that US policies have backfired, pushing countries to seek alternatives. The inclusion of new members like Saudi Arabia with its oil reserves adds another layer of complexity. And make no mistake, this isn't just about economic alliances. It's a geopolitical chess game. Indonesia's hesitation to join BRICS reflects the uncertainty many nations feel about aligning against the US dollar. The strategist's comments on the yuan not replacing the US dollar anytime soon should give pause to those who think the US dollar's downfall is imminent. However, the decline in Saudi oil exports to the US is a sign of shifting alliances and a potential harbinger of things to come. Brazil's enthusiasm about the BRICS expansion is a sentiment likely shared by other member nations. The discussion around a common currency is particularly intriguing. If realized, it could be a game changer, further loosening the dollar's grip on global trade. The BRICS alliance is more than an economic bloc, it's a statement against the status quo, and it's gaining momentum. While BRICS nations are challenging the old guard, India's Yes Bank is embracing the future of CBDCs. But is this a future we can all agree on? Let's dissect. Yes Bank is a significant player in India's banking sector. It integrated with the Unified Payments Interface to participate in the Reserve Bank of India's Digital Rupee project. This move allows Yes Bank customers to send and receive transfers in digital rupees. The integration also supports QR code functionality, enabling seamless domestic remittances between Indian states. The development is crucial for the digital rupee's adoption in both private and corporate finances. Yes Bank is collaborating with U.S. fintech Ripple since 2018 to facilitate cross-border remittances. Although it's not clear if RippleNet and XRP are directly involved in this digital rupee project, Ripple has been a significant player in CBDC developments globally. The Reserve Bank of India's digital rupee will have enhanced usability thanks to Yes Bank's UPI integration. The UPI is operated by the National Payments Corporation of India, which itself is a division of the Reserve Bank of India. This integration marks the first time UPI has been linked with a central bank digital currency. The UPI is used by 150 million merchants in India. Yes Bank was one of the 8 original banks in the Retail Digital Rupee pilot project, which had 5,000 participating merchants, 50,000 CBDC users, and carried out 800,000 transactions worth $134 million by February. Seems to me the integration of Yes Bank with the Digital Rupee project is more than just a technological advancement. It's a move that could redefine the landscape of digital currencies in India and potentially globally. Where the Reserve Bank has been cautious about cryptocurrencies, its venture into CBDCs shows a willingness to adapt and innovate. Yes Bank's involvement adds a layer of credibility and accessibility to the digital rupee. It's not just a government project anymore, it's a financial instrument integrated into the daily lives of millions. The UPI's widespread use in India gives the digital rupee an immediate user base, which is a significant advantage for any new form of currency. And let's not forget Ripple. Although its role in this particular project is unclear, its ongoing relationship with Yes Bank could hint at future collaborations in CBDCs. Ripple has been a pioneer in this space, and its involvement could be a game changer. But here's the kicker. While CBDCs like the digital rupee are touted as the future, they're still centralized, controlled by the very institutions many in the community distrust. So let's also remain vigilant. The rise of CBDCs is a double-edged sword, potentially offering both innovation and a new avenue for government control. Speaking of control, Genesis Global Capital is under fire for some shady moves. Time to peel back the layers. Genesis Global Capital is facing accusations from its creditors over a proposed $175 million deal with FTX. Creditors, including Gemini and a group called the Fair Deal Group, allege that Genesis is manipulating the bankruptcy process through vote buying. The deal would allow FTX's Alameda Research to claim $175 million from Genesis. That represents a significant drop from the initial $4 billion FTX was looking for. Digital Currency Group is the parent company of Genesis. DCG owes over $1 billion, adding another layer of complexity to the bankruptcy case. Legal filings indicate that this deal is an attempt to manipulate the voting process, with creditors effectively accusing Genesis of ballot stuffing. A hearing on the Genesis FTX deal is scheduled for September 6th in the Southern District of New York. So what's the real story here? It's about the integrity of the financial systems that underpin the crypto world. These allegations against Genesis aren't just a blip, they're a symptom of a larger issue that could undermine trust in decentralized systems. Genesis is accused of manipulating the very process meant to bring fairness and resolution to financial disputes. If these allegations hold, it's like saying, hey, we're all for a decentralized future, but let's rig the game while we're at it. And let's talk about FTX. Why would they settle for $175 million when they initially sought $4 billion? And then there's the Digital Currency Group, parent company of Genesis. They owe over $1 billion, and that's not pocket change. That's a significant amount that could impact the entire crypto ecosystem. If DCG defaults, it could send shockwaves through the industry, affecting not just Genesis, but other entities as well. So what happened? 5 Ethereum staking providers agreed to a 22% cap on their market share. While a positive step for decentralization, Lido Finance's refusal to join the pact and a lack of enforcement mechanisms cast doubts on its effectiveness. The SEC's attempt to appeal a Ripple case has been met with stiff resistance. This clash highlights the regulatory body's struggle to adapt outdated laws to a modern financial landscape. Federal courts have also signaled that it's time for updated cryptocurrency regulation. The BRICS Alliance added 6 new countries, shaking up the balance of global economic power. While the Chinese yuan isn't replacing the dollar just yet, the decline in Saudi oil exports to the US and discussions of a common currency are signs of change. Yes Bank has integrated with the Reserve Bank of India's Digital Rupee project, making a significant step for CBDC adoption in India. Given India's animosity towards real cryptocurrencies, the centralized nature of CBDCs remains a concern. Genesis Global Capital faces accusations of manipulating the bankruptcy process, raising concerns about transparency and integrity within the crypto financial systems. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe, leave a rating, or maybe a review. And in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.